Welcome to the Mambo in the City Salsa Podcast, late edition. Hanging out here with you guys on this Tuesday evening in New York City. A little impromptu podcast. Excited for tonight's guest. We want to remind you this podcast, we're going to be talking about a very special event happening on Saturday, September 20th at 8 p.m. The Mambo Legends Orchestra with Lucrecia and special guest Nelson Gonzalez Orchestra. That's happening at the Lehman Center for the Performing Arts. And we're going to get into that amazing event. As you know, the Mambo Legends Orchestra spans a career, doing the music of the big three, Tito Puente, Machito, Tito Rodriguez. And they've, over the years, they've traveled. You've seen on the podcast, I've had John Dandy Rodriguez, the late John Dandy Rodriguez, also Jose Madera. Tonight on the Mambo in the City Salsa podcast, we have another one of the founders of that incredible orchestra. So, without further ado, please welcome to the Mambo in the City Salsa podcast, Mr. Mitch Frohman.
Hey, everybody. Hey, how you doing, Adrian?
How you doing, Mitch? Good to see you, man.
Yep. Cool. It's a nice Tuesday evening.
It's getting a little chilly here in New York City, right? Or what?
It's good football weather, good baseball weather, good workout weather.
I love it. I love it. So excited for the event coming up at the Lehman Center. One more time, for folks to enjoy the Mambo Legends Orchestra, that amazing orchestra. And I wanted to ask you, in terms of your years with the Mambo Legends, I'll ask you the same question I started with Jose. What was we'll start from current times and we'll go backwards a little bit.
You're the boss.
Your travels to St. Peter's, Russia.
Oh, that was a while ago. That was what was that, 2013 or 14 or?
Test your memory tonight, Mitch.
I can go on YouTube and look for when the concert was.
No, just tell me your memories of getting ready to board that plane with the Mambo Legends Orchestra and just what you remember about that time.
Well, to even predate that, I mean, getting on the plane. I mean, I've been getting on the plane with Jose Madera, and may he rest in peace, Johnny Rodriguez, and the other some of the other great musicians from the Tito Puente Orchestra since 1976. So, it wasn't like getting on the plane was some out of this world experience, but it was great to be going to a new country for the first time. Obviously, this is before all the trouble started, that we have in that part of the world, because I also went to Ukraine and did some Latin jazz concerts over there before all the trouble started also. But it was part of what we do. And It turned out that the audiences, it was amazing. You go on YouTube, people, and Google Mambo Legends Orchestra Russia, and you'll see like the reception, and the band was amazing. And it was like playing like I came up right after the Palladium. So my Palladium was the days of the Corso, the Casablanca, the Casino 14, the Casa Borinquen, Hunts Point Palace, and it was like that with another culture as our audience.
What do you remember that audience more or less? Hold on.
I'm not hearing you right now.
Yep, hold on. There we go. What happened to my microphone? There we go. Hold on 1 second. Okay. Now, what do you remember that audience being like? That crowd. What do you remember the most about that crowd that you just got you in awe, that you remember all the time?
Which is super. I mean, not unlike the crowds when I first joined Tito Puente's band, and we'd play in Madison Square Garden, or we go to Puerto Rico, or we go to South America, or we go to Europe, or we go to Japan. I mean, it was just pure joy, and it makes you want to play even more. And a lot of the musicians of my peers will probably tell you the same thing. I don't know if you've heard it, that the treatment that we get in places that, you know, where maybe this music didn't come from, and places that you wouldn't think is superior to sometimes what the treatment we get over here.
Yeah.
You know, the respect that maybe used to be, and where they don't take it for granted. And I'm not talking about the political situation and the stuff that's going on today and everything like that, but you know, it's just it's a different type of. I'm talking about the people once again, not the.
You say it's the appreciation of what's going on
right.
on stage, or
Regardless of what's happening with the governments, the appreciation of the people. I mean, first of all, the people that are coming, many of them are, you know, Latin music fans, jazz fans, Latin jazz fans, salsa fans, dances and non-dances. And then you have like the people, curious people coming, you know, with their families, besides just young people coming to, you know, dance enthusiasts. And the respect and the joy that you see in their faces, in the treatment from the promoters that are honored to have you there, as opposed to, you know, it's not so much where you feel like, of course you're working for them, but it's just a different type of respect that sometimes we see over here, and sometimes, you know, things are could be a little better.
okay. And in terms of, it's a funny question. You sat in front of, or actually, the late John Dandy Rodriguez sat in front of you for many, many years.
Yes.
What do you remember the most, your favorite memories of Johnny? Because I'm sure you heard some incredible, you know, things he was doing on the bongos there in front of you, and maybe he turned to you, started and said something to you that, you know, cracked you up. You know, what do you
Well, I
remember?
mean, when you travel with people for so many years, it's like you're spending pretty more time with them than when you are with your own family. You know, like especially the heavy Tito Puente traveling years. You know, besides the orchestra with the Latin Jazz Ensemble, those last 10, 15 years where we were on the road so much. Johnny, I want to say, you know, I was going to say was, but I prefer to say is a musical genius. And I mean, I used to kind of joke with him, but in a serious way, that he needed to open up a school of cowbell playing, because there's all these other great percussionists that we play with. They're amazing, but and they could be more flashy than Johnny and play faster. But I've never played with anybody that played the cowbell as a musical instrument as opposed to a percussion instrument.
Exactly.
And you know, I would ask him questions. I mean, the other thing is, when I'm sitting next to many percussionists, sometimes I might have to wear earplugs if we're in a close situation. I never had to do that sitting next to Johnny, because of the way he blended and the way, you know, sometimes he would choke up on the stick sometimes when he hits the cowbell, like when a batter is bunting instead of going for a home run to try to place the ball. And he would he told me he would choke up on the stick. He would massage the underneath of the bell sometimes with some hand movement, and he would hit the bell in different spots on the metal to blend with different sections of where the band was in the arrangement.
Wow.
Instead of just, you know, that you know, like in one spot. Even like I said, with all due respect to all these other great percussionists.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, there's some others that also emulate that also, but Johnny, I have to say, he was the tastiest on the bongos, the bell, his knowledge of Afro-Cuban and Afro-Caribbean music, and his love of it. You know, but most of the stuff, especially from sitting next to Johnny, sitting next to Tito, Jose Madera, and people at Bobby Pacelli, Sonny Bravo, is what you learn almost through osmosis, where they're not really telling you things unless, you know, you make a big mistake, you know, but you're learning by it's like if you're playing on a basket, if you're a rookie and you're playing on a basketball team with Magic Johnson or Jason Kidd or now Jalen Brunson with the Knicks, and they make an amazing pass. Now you put that in your game if you're also a guard, the blending of that. So that's really, it's not like one thing, but I do remember talking to him about, his why the musicality of his cowbell playing. And he did explain that thing to me about hitting the bell in different spots and choking up on the stick and to try to blend in whether it's the introduction, the montuno, the shout chorus, the gia, the vocal. He was the most musical bell bongo player that I've sat next to.
Yeah. Do you remember, before we move on to the next topic, do you remember when you met Johnny Rodriguez? What that was like?
Well, okay. I started playing with Tito Puente in 1976. So Johnny had played with Tito Puente and Tito Rodriguez and everybody before that.
Mm-hmm.
But now in 1976, that was like, Typica 73.
Right.
Obviously, they started in 1973 and 1970. So we were playing opposite them all the time.
Oh, wow.
On what it was known as the Cuchifrito circuit, which maybe they wouldn't use that terminology today, but it was an endearing term then of the Latin music club circuit.
Right.
And so we were obviously, I didn't really know him personally, but we would run into each other. I'm a kid, and he's already an established band leader along with Sonny Bravo and Typica 73. And then in the early 80s, he came back into Tito's band when Typica, dissolved. And, he's, like I said, he's still, I'm not a peer of his, yet, because he's a veteran. Even though he's not that old, maybe he's 10 years older than me, but he's more than 10 years older than me in the music scene of Latin music because of his the lineage that he came from.
Yeah.
And so, but then over the years of traveling and spending hours in airports and hotels and the whole thing, we got much closer.
If someone was gonna go back and try to figure out exactly the time where you met Johnny Rodriguez, what Tito Puente album or songs were the most popular during that time? If I know it's a pretty
these are hard questions. I mean, I say hard questions. It's not a black or white type of question. The first recording that I did with Tito was the Homenaje a Benny Murray Volume 1.
Okay.
So I think that was 1978. I think 78. But for the recordings, Johnny was on the recordings.
Yeah.
I mean, Johnny was the most recorded percussionist, I think, in the second half of the 20th century. He's the conga player on Kimbara with CELIA CRUZ, with that classic introduction, where musicians in the know would have these clave discussions,
Yeah, incredible.
So, but I didn't really know him personally. I mean, but over time, my impression was, I mean, everybody sounded great to me,
Yeah. Yeah.
But then over time, you see like the levels of greatness and the levels of musicality as you get better, and then as you hear more other people that are also wonderful. So it's a process. It's not, it's not like this wasn't the aha moment,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, it's still an incredible experience for you over the years. And sadly, we lost John Danny Rodriguez.
You have to understand, Johnny's there, and Jose Madera is in front of me, and then next to me is right next to me is Tito Puente, because the saxes went like to the side of Tito, and then right next to Tito is Bobby Rodriguez, and then Sonny Bravo, and then right next to me on the other side it says Bobby Porcelli. I mean, you can't get better training ground. And then behind me was one of the people person probably most responsible for keeping the Tito Puente Orchestra together, who's gotten lost in the history, was Tito's partner and the original, like founder of the Piccadilly Boys, which became the Tito Puente Orchestra, the Jimmy Frisara, who ran the band behind the scenes and was the original like trumpet player with Tito and set a lot of the phrasing for the horn section. So that's right behind me. Johnny's right here, Joe's right here, Bobby Rodriguez, Tito, and then Bobby Pacelli next to me. I mean, all you have to do is have the inspiration to want to learn, and it's all around you.
That's incredible. I mean, again, people today probably, unless you have recordings into it, people, one thing that I touched on with Joe was the live experience, listening to you guys live. The recordings are phenomenal, but it's in the live experience. But you're right in the center of that greatness, and we're gonna dive into that a little more. Let's just really talk about what's gonna happen at the Lehman Center, because you guys are back. Check this out, guys. Let me just get Mitch's.
Well, it's really, I mean, I have so many fond memories of so many of the people, but what's really like, I was gonna say scary, but in a way like that, there's a few, like besides Johnny, we've lost Louis Kahn, a trombone player with Tito, Larry Harlow, and the Fania All-Stars. On the very top, who's smiling, in like, we've lost Kevin Bryan, whose head is right in between the B and the O of Mambo.
Right.
He's one of the trumpet players. He came on the scene the last 5 years of the Tito Puente Latin Jazz Ensemble. He was playing with us many times. And then in the middle, with his head sticking out on the left, Sam Burtis, we have the kind of the heads on an angle, like on the left. We lost him, I don't know, about a year or two ago. He was also with one of the classic musicians in the jazz and Latin scene, and played with Tito for many years. And I just hope that everybody else in the picture takes care of themselves.
Yeah. So the Mambo Legends obviously have evolved. And can you mention who, let's say, who's sitting now playing the bongo part?
We've had a couple of people, all wonderful.
Okay.
Playing the bongos. One of Jose Madera's oldest friends, and who he was the bongo player when I joined Tito Puente's band, was one of the and he's a fabulous folkloric player, also, and a historian, Louis Balzo.
Oh wow!
And then a young well, he's not as young anymore, but for us he's young. A young musician who's playing bongos with Spanish Harlem Orchestra now, Oreste Abrantes. He's been playing with us. We've also had the great Jose Clausel has done some gigs with us, who's many years percussion timbale with Eddie Palmieri.
Correct, yeah.
I think we did a gig a year or two ago where we had Nicky Marrero playing with us on that gig.
Wow.
But for this gig on September 20th at the Lehman Center for the Performing Arts, we're going to have kind of a combination of Oreste Abrantes and Louis Balzo. And then Louis is also going to add some folkloric bata and shake-it and other things on some of the numbers, while Oreste holds down the bongo chair.
Amazing. And guys, you can get tickets for this event if you visit lehmancenter.org. Again, that's Saturday, September 20th, the Mambo Legends Orchestra, featuring Lucrecia and the Nelson Gonzalez Orchestra.
Yes.
I'm going to share a couple of photos of the talent that will be joining you guys.
And Adrian, if we could, before Nelson, I love Nelson, the greatest tres player anywhere. But Lucrecia, for people that are not familiar with her, first of all, she's a very humble and beautiful person, and we probably traveled with Tito more than any other group for a period of about 10 or 15 years with Celia and Celia's husband Pedro Knight. And I mean, off the stage, she was like your grandmother. On the stage, she was like Ella Fitzgerald for us. And Lucrecia is, when I first heard her a couple of years ago when she was a guest with us in one of these shows, is the closest thing to a young or middle-aged Celia that you're going to hear anywhere. Stage presence,
yeah,
style, tonality, the timbre of her voice, and you know, she's the real thing. It's not just like a you know, like a manufactured promo to make money off of Celia's name or La Lupe's name. She's the real thing, and it's definitely worth checking out for people that are not familiar with her. And then with the musical arrangements of the genius of Jose Madera, who is the last musical director of the Tito Puente Orchestra, and also he's on timbales there. His father was the original arranger and saxophone player with the Machito Orchestra when they started. And Jose grew up in that environment, and he basically has a photographic memory, and he is the last of the Mohicans of that Palladium style of writing, you know, somebody that was there. And it's the real thing with while you know, we lost Johnny, but we still have Jose.
Yeah, and you've always also mentioned that Jose is the closest belt pattern, right?
Well, like I said, this is my opinion.
I agree with you.
There's so many great musicians, and there are people that maybe could, you know, more like exciting soloists or more like play faster or anything like that. But Jose played congas with Tito for over 35 years, and then wrote all these. But originally, you'll see, before Tito, he was playing timbales with Machito as a teenager, and he was originally a timbale player. But guys like Johnny, Jose, and people of that era, they came up learning all three of the percussion: the timbales, the congas, and bongos. Maybe they were a little more flexible on one than the other, but they played all of them. I mean, Johnny recorded, like I said, he was the conga player on the Celia's Kimbara and on so many other records, even though we know him more as a bongo and belt player. And I've heard him play timbales. But Joe is probably the closest thing to the bell pattern and the style of Tito accompanying the orchestra of anyone alive today. That's not to say that, I mean, Joe will be the first one to tell you that people like Giovanni Hidalgo, and who's amazing, and we love him. Right. But I'm talking about just for, like, it's like if you're playing, you know, with the Thad Jones Mel Lewis Orchestra, and you have you know, Mel Lewis, or you know, you're playing with the you know, Stan Kenton or Woody Holmes, or Count Basie, or well, Buddy Richard was the drummer. But you know, the drummers for those bands, there might have been other people that could play even faster or more flashy, but they were the real thing for those bands. And that's, Joe's the closest thing to the Tito Puente ride, the cymbal ride, the bell ride of anywhere for that style.
Yes.
In my opinion.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree. I mean, I've watched videos of Tito, and again, the first time I heard Joe at Boys Harbor, you know, at those rehearsals at the Boys Harbor Monday nights, I got firsthand experience. But in terms of you yourself, you know, how did you end up in the Tito Puente Orchestra? Like, what did you? Yeah. Give me some of that.
It was a dark, stormy night back in the 1950s. You know, I mean, I don't know how much time we have.
Let me tell you right now. Let me see.
I'm free.
Okay. How's the Mets lose already? Because, you know,
I was watching the Yankee game, and then the relief pitcher gave up around 4 runs. Or he walked out with the bases loaded, and then you told me we had 15 minutes, so I just combed my hair and put a t-shirt on.
And a great shirt. Check out Mitch's shirt really quick. Look at this.
We have the last record that they did was the Tito Puente and Eddie Palmieri called Masterpiece, which won a Grammy. And a couple of years after Tito passed, we had a Tito Puente alumni orchestra concert in Chicago at this performing arts school on the suburbs of Chicago. And this was one of the shirts that they gave to us at the concert. And I asked Eddie Palmieri to sign it for me. And I never wear it outside because I don't want to sweat in it and then have to put it in the laundry and then I lose the signature. But I just, I put it on for tonight. Yeah, that's the signature. obviously Tito had passed away, so I have Tito's signature on other things somewhere else.
Beautiful. I mean,
But,
I would actually retire that shirt after tonight, just based on.
Well, it is retired.
Oh, it is retired. Okay.
I just took it out of the glass case, and thank God it still fits.
Well, let me ask you. Now that we touched on that shirt and that album, what was that recording like? Because I mean, Obra Maestra says it all. And again, I'm going back a long time. So what do you remember about that recording? We're talking about the Obra Maestra recording that's on Mitch's shirt, which is Tito Puente and Eddie Palmieri.
No, well, it was the two Tito's concert orchestra, with Eddie Palmieri. So there was two bands in the studio. Two different styles of recording, not just musically, but the way things are done in the studio. Tito was like one take Tito. That's what he used to say, and he wanted like he was very detail oriented, and we'd play a tune, and then we go to the next tune and the next tune, and that wasn't always how Eddie's band was.
Right.
That amazing musicians, and all great good people, but it was it's just a little different. The session took a little longer than we used to do with Tito's band.
Right.
But musically, it was very interesting because some of the stuff of Eddie's songs that we recorded that were arranged for a big band, it was like a combination of the Tito Puente style with the Eddie Palmieri conjunto style, and with the different harmonies that Eddie would do, and with the percussive rhythms that Tito had, and it was very interesting. It was like I said, all these things are learning experiences.
Yeah. Why do you think it took them so long to put together something? I always ask that about musicians as a fan. Why does it take forever to have those two worlds, meet for something after so many years?
I mean, that's. I mean, there's life. I mean, why? I hate to answer a question with a question, but sometimes like, why hasn't? Pick two famous movie stars. Why hasn't Denzel Washington made a movie with so and so where they're both amazing actors? Things. They each have their own projects. They each have their own things. It's not like a rivalry or anything like that.
No.
It just. Sometimes it just happens like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know the inner workings. But all of those great band leaders were amicable and respected each other. I could tell you that behind the scenes.
Yeah. One more quick question on the album. Do you remember them, having to delegate a lot to you guys, or
No, it wasn't like
masters there. Like it's like.
Well, first of all, somebody like Jose Madera, he did a bunch of arrangements, and somebody like that, and then somebody from Eddie's band would be more like hands-on, and Tito would be in maybe in the booth, like the engineering booth, and Eddie, and when you see like a college basketball game or a pro basketball game, and then they call a timeout. The assistant coaches or an assistant coach will go to the bench with the players, and then the head coach will kind of step a little away from them with two of their three top assistants and discuss certain strategy. And there are things that are delegated. It's kind of like that.
Got it. Okay, that makes a world of sense.
And before you asked me about how I got in with Tito, and nothing was planned. When I graduated college, I graduated with a degree in music, and I came back, like I'm from the Bronx.
Yep.
And my first, I must have been 21, 22, 20, 21. I got a job up in the Catskill Mountains, at some like some hotel with a piano player playing, just playing some like, you know, what they call American standards at that time for some of the old seniors that were in you know, at that that hotel. It wasn't one of the fancy hotels like the Concord or anything like that. Playing tunes like, you know, Fly Me to the Moon, Hello Dolly, but I mean, I'm ecstatic because now I'm a kid and I'm getting paid to play songs, you know, to play music, you know. And down the road from that hotel was the Pines Hotel, which the Joe CUBA Sextet was there for the summer. And you know, I'm 21 years old. I'm not ready to go to bed at 11:30, 12 o'clock when my gig ended. So I would drive down the road a few miles and go to hang out there. And Joe CUBA let me sit in. The first thing I'm doing. I mean, I grew up in the Bronx, so it wasn't like this music was foreign to me, but it wasn't something that was in my blood from when I was a baby, like Jose Madero and Johnny Rodriguez.
Right.
So they let me sit in, and it was I immediately took a liking to it, and then every, you know, couple of days or every once or twice a week I would go, you know, down and sit in with them. And then when I came after the summer, I started to investigate what other opportunities there was in that field. And while also just, you know, I might play a wedding one night, a bar mitzvah, a rock gig, a big band gig. The one great thing, especially in those days in New York, there was so many things happening. And I ran into a musician who had played with Tito before that. His name is Roger Rosenberg, who also then went on to play with MONGO SANTAMARIA. And for the last 30 years, he's been the baritone sax player with Steely Dan and one of the top jazz musicians in the world of saxophone.
Okay.
And he told me that, you know, Tito doesn't pay that good. They're working every night, 2 and 3 times on the weekend, and they're always looking for subs. You can, you know, mention my name and just, you know. So I found out where they were playing up. I think there was a place, the Happy Hills Casino, up in 135th and near Broadway. If that's not, you know, up in Harlem. And at that time, like I mentioned before, Jimmy Frisara, who was the boss behind the scenes of Tito's band and also the trumpet player, and, you know, did everything.
Right.
I introduced myself, and he said, you know something, we play these places out in Long Island or Staten Island or Brooklyn or Queens during the week. These you know, American discos that would have Latin night, and, you know, sometimes, you know, the gig would be like 3 1-hour sets, but sometimes Tito might leave after the second set, and they'd play another set for the people dancing. You know, come by and, well, you can sit in. So I did that, and I did that.
Wow.
I would sit there for 3-4 hours, and then maybe one of the guys would let me sit in the last tune, you know, to learn some of the stuff. And I did that, while I'm still struggling to try to, you know, improve and make a, you know, like do whatever.
Right.
And after maybe 3-4, a certain amount of months, I guess when the 20 subs before me couldn't do it, they called me to do a gig, and that became another gig and another gig, and I became the steady sub for on the alto saxophone and tenor chair for, you know, that time period. And then after one of the saxophone players left the band, they asked me to join the band, and it was amazing.
Yeah. What were your impressions of Tito the first time you talked to him?
Okay, you know, it's just funny that you say it was so the saxes, the 2 or 3 saxes were kind of in, like, you know, right behind the congas and bongos, and then Tito was in the middle. So so he was on the, like, I was right next to him. I was like the either in the, like, one person away or right next to him.
Yeah.
And I remember after, like, we didn't have a day off for 30 days.
Oof.
And then like, because every Monday we'd play the Pan Am Hotel in Queens Boulevard on that had Latin night. And then Tuesday we'd play like in either in Staten Island or Brooklyn, that would have like these were the days, like the Saturday Night Fever days, you know.
Right.
And they would have those discos, but they loved Tito's band, and so like Tito's band would be the Latin band for those places. Wednesday night was a legendary place called the Corso on 86th off 3rd Avenue. And then Thursday was a couple of places in Brooklyn, and then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday was what we call the Cucho Frito circuit.
Right.
And we would be doubling and tripling on Fridays and Saturdays and doing matinees on Sundays at places like the Corso, the Casablanca, the Casino 14, the Chez Sensual, the Hunts Points Palace, and 1,000 other places that I'm leaving out.
Right.
And, you know, so like Tito didn't say anything, like because they had a roadie, which in the Latin bands it was called a band boy. I mean, the guy could be 70 years old, but he was still the band boy.
Right.
And that's what the terminology was.
Right.
And they would set up Tito's timbales. He would set up Tito's timbales, hand Tito the sticks, and Tito would walk on the stage and we'd play. And Tito never said a word to me.
Wow.
And after about a month, I asked Jimmy Forsora, like the person that would tell us what we're wearing, when the next gig is, how much we're getting paid, and everything. You know, he was like, he ran everything. I said, is everything okay? I'm sitting next to Tito, and he hasn't said a word to me in like a month. And, you know, and Jimmy said, if he hasn't said anything to you, that's a good thing. That means you're not bothering him.
Wow.
And that's, in fact, other people, like, there's a documentary where Sonny Bravo tells a similar story in a different way, that to another percussionist or rhythm section player, especially somebody that's not from the Latin scene, that could be from the jazz world, that's sitting in as a special guest, the highest compliment Tito would tell them, kind of in a tongue-in-cheek way, is, you know something? After the gig, you didn't bother me. Meaning you swung your butt off and you grooved. And
right.
So that kind of was like reassuring to me when he says that means you didn't bother him. Because remember, I'm like 22 years old,
mm-hmm.
and Tito's Tito Puente. And so as soon as he's off the bandstand, well, I'm a few years older than 22 there, but when Tito's off the bandstand, in fact, you know something? I think that was an outdoor concert in front of the former World Trade Center. They used to have concerts in front of the World Trade Center.
I remember those, yeah.
Yeah. Because somebody else had asked me about that, and so I looked at a few other pictures from that time frame. So like Tito, you know,
coming off the bandstand.
You know, I mean, he was pulled from so many directions. You know, like he was a celebrity, but
mm-hmm.
he was a man of the people. So he would talk to everybody, whether they were, you know, from the street or from the palace.
Right.
So, you know, it wasn't like we were buddy or anything like that. But then, because over the years, obviously, you know, you get more comfortable. I mean, he would give me and Bobby Pacelli, like, there were years where we didn't have a car, and he'd be in Manhattan at one of his offices, and then we'd meet him by the 59th Street Bridge to go to a gig in Queens or Long Island, and he'd give us rides to the gig.
Incredible.
And then, you know, I drive the car back home so he can get a cat nap before we drop myself off. Then he would drive up to, you know, I don't want to give away where he lived, you know, like in public, but you know, it was north of the city, you know.
Yeah. The whole time you back there playing, and of course he's listening to what's going on. So
he would say, like, I remember one time, and this was years later, like we had a gig with you know, some big concert. And we're in the airport like 5 days later, going from another city or another country, and he would come up and say, "You know something? That 3 days ago in the show in Luxembourg, you know, that was, you know, that note was supposed to be like longer or a G natural instead of a G sharp, you know, something." And it was. I mean, he was a musical genius, and but he didn't turn around. And at least in the years I was there, I heard from other people before me that he was stricter in the years before that. Because
mm-hmm.
remember, when I joined the band in the mid 70s, he was already, you know, he already had the band for 25 years.
Yeah.
27 years, you know. I think that they first started as the Piccadilly Boys in 1948, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and also he's old enough to be my dad. So where people like Bobby Rodriguez, who came up with Tito,
mm-hmm.
could talk peer to peer,
that's
not, you know,
the same deal. Yeah.
And it's like, if we have a guy who's in their 20s or 30s in the MAMBO Legends Orchestra, maybe they might feel a little intimidated by Jose Madera from his legendary status, or I don't put myself in that category, but I mean, where it's not peer to peer, like, because I have so much more experience than them, but somebody that's also in the Mambo Legends that came up at the same time I did, you talk to them on the same level.
Now, let me ask you, in terms of the front, the singers, obviously Frankie Figueroa, but what are your memories? Not skipping over Frankie so fast.
Well, when I joined the band, there was another singer before Frankie. I forget the not Junior Toledo. There was another singer right before, and then but Frankie then came in like kind of right after that, and was there for a lot of the years up till around. He was there for about 10, 12 years up till about 1990, and then another Frankie took his place, Frankie Morales. So for about over 20, the better part of 22, 23 years, because the first year or two was somebody else. The singer for me was a Frankie. Although for a couple of years in the 90s, Tito added a wonderful female singer, Yolanda Duque, and who did like a La Lupe shows with us, and so where we had two singers, both a male and a female singer. And then, of course, over the years, we backed up we traveled around the world with CELIA so much.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. You're sitting in a reception in a rehearsal, and CELIA CRUZ walks in,
right?
The first time. What are you thinking there? The Queen of Latin music walks in, and you
okay, it's like
it's like a movie,
right? But if you're playing on the if you're playing on the Chicago Bulls, and then your family comes in like and regularly and sees Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen and this and that, and then other stars, yes, you know that they're great, but you also, I mean, Celia was the warmest, like, to her. I'm like, she used to call me Mitchy Mitchy, I mean, she was the sweetest, like she was like your grandmother, and her husband Pedro Knight was salt of the earth, like a wonderful guy. They would be the first ones at the rehearsal. The opposite, if there's a word, like the opposite of diva. Right. They didn't even want to let you help carry their bags, just wonderful people, which doesn't always happen at that level.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I knew they were famous. She was famous, but I'm also part of the Tito Puente Orchestra, and we're running into these type of people all the time.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, for me, if I had run into a famous athlete, because they liked, they liked the Tito, something like that. So that was a thrill for me to run into like maybe some of my heroes when I was a kid,
Yeah. If you were going to explain, because unfortunately, they passed on. But if you were gonna, that was right in the middle of all that, if you were gonna explain the power of CELIA CRUZ and Tito Puente together, how would you explain it? That dynamic.
Yeah, I mean, it was magic. It was, and besides that, and the power of Tito Puente and La Lupe, there also, like, it was different, but like Tito had a way of arranging and orchestrating and accompanying people like Celia, people like La Lupe, I mean, and many others, of course. But I mean, we did concerts with symphony orchestras the last 10 years. But they both were, it's basically, it's like playing on an all-star team, and Magic Johnson is passing the ball to Larry Bird, who's passing the ball to, I mean, I know Celia's a woman and Tito's a man, but I'm just like that dynamic. Like I said, when Ella Fitzgerald would sing with the Count Basie Orchestra or the Duke Ellington Orchestra, the same type of synergy.
Yeah.
And Tito was a great musician. I'm assuming, I mean, Celia wasn't, I don't know if she was like a schooled musician. So I shouldn't say, but I mean, she, her ears and her feeling were I mean, it's like I said, they, Ella Fitzgerald, Sarah Vaughan,
Mm-hmm.
Dinah Washington, Celia Cruz.
Yeah.
Except for the language and the different style, they're in the same ballpark.
Intertwined. I got to see Celia and Tito Puente at Madison Square Garden, obviously with the RMM orchestra type deal.
That was great, but that was different.
Yeah, it passed. You know, it
It
was a
wasn't
tape,
Tito's band, and they
right?
were also doing other tunes that I felt,
Mm,
while very commercial, weren't like the real Celia stuff.
yeah, yeah,
But what we besides like Madison Square Garden is one thing, and it was awe inspiring, especially for somebody like me that grew up in the Bronx that used to go to Madison Square Garden to see the championship Knicks and the wrestling matches and everything.
right,
But we also did places like Blue Notes, where in an intimate setting with Tito and Celia, or in some other countries where we played for royalty in a small area, and then like okay, I'll give you one a recurring example. One of Celia's most famous songs that was Usted Abusó,
yes,
and where she stood on the bandstand, like not Madison Square Garden was much bigger, but like in a smaller venue, she was kind of right in front of, like a little in front of me, in front of the band. And for Usted Abusó, there's a duet, and Pedro, her husband, would sing. They'd have to take one microphone. He would come to her microphone, and they would sing into it the duet part.
right,
And the people couldn't see, but I'm behind them, and Celia would have her hand around Pedro, holding on tightly, like, yeah, she's the star, but like, this is my husband and my,
rock. He's a rock.
my rock, and it was so beautiful, like it was real love,
Yeah,
and I've always, that's a memory that sticks out when seeing them hold on to each other from the back, singing Usted Abusó together, like as a real life loving couple.
correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
wow. Well, let me not toot my horn here, but I have some photos that I took. Great, thanks to you guys giving me the opportunity to photograph Mambo Legends for so many years. Namely, this one was at this was the night of Gilberto Santa Rosa and the Mambo Legends, where Tony Vega showed up. If you remember, there's Mitch there, and there's the late Johnny Dandy Rodriguez, Jose Madran Timbal. Let me get another photo here. Let's see. This is at the Lincoln Center Outdoors
Yes.
many years ago. I would say this is Midsummer Night Swing, that era of
Yes.
Midsummer Night Swing. Mr. Barry Poselli there, as you call him. What do you call George Delgado? I know what you call him, but what do you call him?
Well, he's known in amongst the musicians as Mr. Swing.
Right?
And we always joke, but for the right reasons, not socially, but for his tumbao, his feeling, his swinging is as in the pocket as you can get. And like I said, there are people that can play faster and more flashy, but there's very few or no one that holds the tumbao in many different styles. Georgie's unique in the fact that he could play with the more modern salsa bands, or play with the older, like Palladium style, like big bands, and adjust to fit the style that he's playing, and with amazing time and compatibility.
Yeah.
So he has that nickname of Mr. Swing, but for musical reasons.
Amazing. Here's another photo here, Mitch. And who's the gentleman next to you?
His name is Vito Chiavuzzo. He's a great young alto player. He's doing a lot of Broadway shows. I think he was also doing the Radio City Music Hall for a bunch of years. And Tito's band and Machito's band and Tito's Rodriguez band was not like the rhythm sections was predominantly Hispanic,
Right.
but the horn sections was a mixture of great musicians of all ethnicities and nationalities, Hispanic, non-Hispanic, black, white, and everything in between.
Right.
And there was a lot of great, I mean, in the 50s, Doc Severinsen, the band from the Johnny Carson's band leader, recorded with Tito. You know, there was so many great musicians and jazz musicians that were in the bands of Tito and Machito and Tito Rodriguez. Remember, Tito grew up in the barrio. You know, he was born in Harlem Hospital. So, you know, his peers were Dizzy Gillespie and people like that. And we used to run into them all the time, and they would be guests with us. And there was a fusion of, you know, the jazz musicians and the Latin musicians that were on different sides of you know, Spanish Harlem and, you know, African American Harlem. You know, just unfortunately there were demarcations, you know, in this, which still exists, but to a greater extent then.
Yeah.
And Birdland was right around the corner from the Palladium.
Okay.
And so, you know, on 52nd Street. And so there was a mixture and a fusing of like these great musicians knew each other. And so the history of, you know, Latino and non-Latino musicians at the highest level, especially in the horn sections, was a natural collaboration since the beginning of these orchestras.
Yeah. Incredible. Okay, I'm going to share a couple more photos here from, I think I shared that one already. There we go.
I think they're the same concerts.
Yeah.
If you have any photos back from the 70s, that would help, because I was a little skinnier then. Vanity is my weakness.
Let me remind the folks here, don't forget, guys, this is going to be on Saturday, September 20th, 8 p.m. The MAMBO Legends Orchestra. Also, Nelson Gonzalez.
Nelson has a swinging conjunto. Nelson was one of the key figures with Johnny Rodriguez with Typica 73. He's a beautiful cat, and he has a teenage daughter, Azul, that is going to be singing some boleros with his band, who's a wonderful young vocalist, and it is going to be a great show.
That's amazing. And also Lucrecia will be performing with the MAMBO Legends as well, correct?
Yep, with both bands. She is the real deal.
So, guys, you can get tickets at lehmancenter.org. Again, that's Saturday night, September 20th, 8 p.m. MAMBO Legends Orchestra with Lucrecia and the Nelson Gonzalez Orchestra. You're going to hear the classics. I mean, who's in the front for you guys singing that night? Do you?
Well, we're going to be doing a few songs of MAMBO Legends, and then probably 75 to 80% of our set's going to be accompanying Lucrecia with the Tito Puente like arrangements that Jose Madera has done. So the vocalist that we're going to have that night is a veteran vocalist, Luis Rosas, and then kind of a veteran but more of a younger guy. He's just joined the Spanish Harlem Orchestra. He's known as Don Sonero. His name is Gilberto Velasquez.
Okay.
And then Gilberto's daughter, Luz Velasquez, I think she just won one of the Duke Ellington Juilliard student competitions. She's an amazing jazz vocalist, and she's going to probably be helping out on coro and singing a song with us. But it's basically Gilberto Velasquez and Luis Rosas. You know, our original singer Frankie Vasquez who's, I love him, you know, who's the El Sonero del Barrio, also the real deal. He's he's living in Colombia now.
Wow. And
you know, over the years, you know, people's lives change, people move and everything else like that. So we've had a couple of, you know, replacements in different areas, just like there was people in the sax section in Tito's band before me.
Yeah.
But it's all like of the highest level, and it should bring back some great memories for those of the people out there that experienced that, and it should be some new openings for people that want to hear like what that style was about.
Let me ask you a personal question. This is a tough question.
Okay.
What was it like the first time you heard the Mambo Legends Orchestra and Johnny wasn't in front of you? Sorry, but this is
No, okay. I mean,
this is a lifelong a lifelong tuning of ear that you had.
well, aside from the personal feelings,
Yes.
you know, that's a step, because I don't want to disparage, like, everybody that we've had is a world-class musician,
Yeah.
but I didn't feel a difference. Because the other thing is besides Johnny's playing, Johnny and Joe and Jose Madera, I mean, even more like and George, you know, has played with them for many years, but Joe and Johnny go back like, you know, 30, 40 years.
Yeah. They're
And
locked.
they lock for 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's something that, I mean, you know, you could have you know, whoever somebody, the greatest in the world, you know, sit down, but you know, things take the lock. You know, it's like I said, you know, bring Michael Jordan, a 19, you know, like a prime Michael Jordan, and have him team up with like a prime LeBron James and a prime Kobe Bryant.
Mm-hmm.
It's still going to take a couple of days for them to lock as great, you know. And so I didn't. You
felt
people in the audience, the music will sound the same and great.
correct.
But I personally, you feel a little somebody that's played with them for so many years. You do hear and feel time wise, you know, something a little different.
Yeah, shift and just
Right.
Yeah, I know it's a deep question because, like I said, I had to ask you based on, you know, just the years and you sitting in that pocket you talking about.
But it's not a fair, and it's a fair question for you, but it's not a fair, when I say not a fair question, like to anybody that's going to sit in Johnny's chair,
Yeah,
it's not a fair comparison
correct.
because
This is more about your relationship with Johnny more than the person.
right, because you could take like you know, the greatest alto player in the world after Charlie Parker passed away to then join Dizzy Gillespie's group, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and no matter who it is,
Yeah,
it's going to be different,
yeah,
even though they're freaking amazing, you know.
yeah. Now let's shift a little bit to other bands that you're part of. When did you join? You were original Spanish Harlem Orchestra, right?
I'm an original member of the Spanish Harlem Orchestra.
Wow. So how did that come about? Where you guys, you know, was it Oscar just choosing the band and said, Mitch, you know, I want Mitch in the band, and it's been you.
Well, you know, the thing is, a lot of what we do, I mean, in life, I mean, is based on who you know, recommendations. I mean, obviously, you need to be qualified, but especially in music, sports, and you know, the arts, it's, you know, it's not just, well, I graduated from this college and, you know, like I got an MBA from you know, the from Columbia University or Yale, and that gets me like this position like in the Defense Department, you know. It's so before the Spanish Harlem Orchestra, I mean, I've had many orchestras, many bands, and Oscar was my piano player.
Wow.
I mean, I didn't own him. He was a lot of people's piano players, but he's a great musician and is a friend of mine. And so when he formed the Spanish Harlem Orchestra, I was one of the people that he called.
Mm-hmm.
And after, let's say, 22 years, 23 years, I think I'm the last of the Mohicans from, well, George Delgado was on the original recording also, but then he left for many years to do other things. I think he moved to Puerto Rico for a few years and he was playing with other people, and then he's been back for many years.
Yeah.
But I think I'm the only one that's been there from the beginning consecutively.
Yeah. And that original orchestra was Chino Nunez on timbales, right? Let's see.
I think so.
Congas was George Delgado, and then you had the late George Gonzalez, right? Is it
I
true?
don't know if, okay. I think George was on the original. I have to go look at the credits.
Yeah.
I miss George Gonzalez. We became very, I mean, we knew each other because he was with Ray Barretto, I was with Tito. We would cross each other all the time. But then I used to, I was the musical director for the legendary dancer Eddie Torres and his Mambo Kings Orchestra. And I used Jorge Gonzalez in that band also. In fact, I used Oscar on piano in that band. And I became pretty close with Jorge Gonzalez during the years with Spanish Harlem together. He was a really beautiful cat. And that was a serious loss, just on a human basis, because he's a couple of years younger than me, and we had no idea about any health things he was going through, and that was kind of shocking.
Yeah.
As opposed to, somebody that maybe has had health problems and is already like getting up there,
Yeah. And I'm sure you traveled the world with these guys.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing is I had already traveled the world with Tito and MONGO SANTAMARIA, and and other bands in between, but mainly like those are the two main ones for the heavy traveling. And with Spanish Harlem, I'm getting back to some new places, but a lot of places that I had been with those people, with Tito and MONGO. And it's pretty cool to, sometimes there's, things change and the places are not like what they were. And sometimes once in a while, there's still some people that remember you from when you were there with Tito 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And, it's cool to kind of still be doing it and revisiting now on the third, like, after Tito and MONGO and then with Spanish Harlem, revisiting places that you've been to. In fact, I know that with Tito, we went like when the Mambo Kings movie came out.
I was gonna say Bobby.
Right.
Bobby was
Bobby Allende, who was an amazing percussionist.
Yes.
When I first joined Tito's band, there was a group of kids, 10, 11 years old, called the Los Rumberitos, and it was Bobby Allende, Mark Quinones, Bobby's brother. There was one or two, Eric's brother, the Juicy. I forget I'm having a senior moment. But
you're doing great, Mitch. Trust me, this is an absolute gold tonight.
They were proteges of Tito.
Yeah.
And their uncle, or one of the guy's fathers or uncle would bring them some on during the week, like to sit in with the band and play a number. The number was called La Leyenda, which was one of the record that Tito recorded before I joined the band.
Yeah.
And they used to perform that with Tito, and Bobby has grown up to be a world-class musician and band leader, and I think he just celebrated his 60th birthday at a show at Lehman Center not too long ago. So, damn, time flies.
Yeah. And again, I was gonna say there was somebody there before Bobby. I just couldn't. It's a long time ago, obviously, but shouts to Bobby.
Before Jorge.
Before Jorge, yes.
Yes.
Shouts to Sammy Garcia joining us from Puerto Rico.
Yes.
I'm sure Sammy's gonna appreciate this question. Now that you mentioned being part of working with MONGO SANTAMARIA. Can you? I don't know how many people can say they work with MONGO SANTAMARIA that I know. So can you just share memories of working with MONGO SANTAMARIA?
Yeah, I mean, it was it's one of the few. Most things you get a reputation. People recommend you, and you go play. It was one of the few things where I had to audition, and so that was nerve-wracking. I was with MONGO from 1988 to 1992, and that really helped me even get to another level. MONGO's band, where it was more like a jazz band as far as like the atmosphere of playing and extended solos. Like if you would see like Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers or Horace Silver, where the horn section kind of would be in front and there would be extended solos. We're playing Afro-Caribbean rhythms, but the horn section is out front featured, and we were playing, you know, we were playing mainly jazz clubs and festivals, as opposed to where Tito did that, but also lots of you know, the Cuchafrito circuit and the dances. Mongo did that. He had a charango band, you know, and Mongo did that years before me. But when I was in the band, it was mainly playing like the festivals and the jazz venues. And the other thing is, by the time I joined Mongo's band, I had already been playing with Tito for like 13 years, about 12 years. So
Wow.
I'm kind of not a veteran, but I'm well familiar with the different rhythms and comfortable with the music and everything like that. But for those of you that maybe know a little more technical stuff about the rhythms, the Mongo's way of playing the Afro-Cuban 6/8 rhythms was a different world than what the New York, you know, the great Latin band, Tito Puente, Ray Barretto, Eddie Charlie Palmieri, you know, it was, who was still amazing, but Mongo's 6/8 Afro-Cuban stuff, playing Afro blue and stuff like that, that opened up my eyes to even another side. You know, like sometimes people, that's kind of why people like Tito and CELIA and everybody else around, like from that era, you know, they weren't crazy about the word salsa. It's a great, you know, it was a marketing term originally, and now it's become I mean, it's a genius marketing term, and you kind of know what they mean, but it's to general Latin dance music as a whole. But just like there's, you know, you wouldn't just say like some word for all American music. Is it Metallica? Is it you know, like Dizzy Gillespie? You know,
Right.
or is it Peter, Paul, and Mary, or Richie? You know, or the Grateful Dead? So there are so many different parts of this wonderful music and culture, and so the Afro blue type of things that we did with Mongo, and the way that he felt that was on another level.
Yeah.
And being able to like take extended solos and you know, more than, you know, the average Latin quote unquote Latin band, allowed you to build up your playing. And then also I was so lucky when I was with Mongo, the legendary Bobby Pacelli was also with Mongo. And then the other trumpet player was Ray Vega, who was amazing. And where I later formed a group called the Bronx Horns, and they were my horn section, the original horn section with that. But it was, I learned a lot in my years with Mongo, and I felt it helped immensely in my development.
Yeah. What was Mongo like as a person, as a band leader?
Well, by the time you know, when I was in the band, Mongo already, he didn't speak that much. I mean, Tito was totally fluent in English and Spanish. Mongo, you know, could speak English, but he wasn't like, you know, like he was much more comfortable speaking Spanish. And so when I was in the band, Ray Vega did most of the talking to the audience.
Okay.
The great, wonderful piano player Bob Quaranta was the musical director.
Okay.
Of course, if Mongo wanted to have something done or change something, that's, you know, that's the boss. But you know, I was there for a little more than 4 years, so it wasn't like, you know, after 20 years with Tito and him giving me and Bobby a ride to the gig, we could tell each other jokes, you know. Or he would say, "Hey, you know, that joke you told me last week, I forgot it. You know, excuse me for a second."
Sure.
I had my computer and it was already at 100%, and so I just turned the thing off. So, you know, I didn't, you know, on a personal level, I got along. I felt I respected him and got along with him wonderfully, but I didn't know him as well personally as I knew Tito, just because I was with Tito for 25 years, and we also were working all the time. With Mongo, we weren't working like every day, every week. We were doing like tours here, tours there, then we'd be off for a couple of months, and then we'd do like a big tour, or we'd have this thing. It wasn't like 50 weeks a year like when I first joined Tito's band.
Yeah, it's funny. The other day, I don't know why it came to my head, but I began to search for Mongo and Riberetto at Yankee Stadium, Congo Bongo, and I was like, I had to see it for some reason. Watch that, those two go at it, at the Yankee Stadium. But what incredible memories,
Yeah. Ray
amidst.
Barretto took Mongo's place when Mongo left Tito to go join Cal Jada.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean those, these. It's amazing. Remember, they were sidemen at one time also.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's just and Ray, you know, I never was in Ray's band, but he was a guest with Tito many times, and we played opposite each other all the time. But he had his own style and his own, his own feeling, and Ray was, with a lot of with all the jazz cats. He was on a lot of the records that a lot of the jazz musicians did in the 50s, 60s, 70s, where they would add a conga player, and yeah, I mean, I feel really lucky that I caught the last generation of that. I never got a chance to play with Tito Rodriguez because he passed away, if I'm not mistaken, was it 1975? I mean, I graduated college in 75. I
Mm-hmm.
started subbing playing with Tito in 76.
Yeah.
But so I never got a chance to play with Tito Rodriguez, but I did sub a lot with Machito.
Okay.
And before I was a steady member of Tito's band, I used to sub a lot with Charlie Palmieri and Caco's band and Tito's band. And then Tito was the first one that gave me the opportunity to join the band steady.
Wow.
But,
Now, of course, I'm putting the pieces here together. But when you got to play with Machito, was Joe's father in? Was Joe playing? Was it Mario?
no.
Was
Joe's father was not playing anymore in that band, but the baritone player Leslie Jonikins was still there. Machito was there. Graciela sometimes was there.
Mhm.
Most of the time when I was there, like Machito's son was playing timbales.
Rest in peace, Mario Rodriguez. Yeah.
Right, who we lost not too long ago.
A year ago
Yeah.
yesterday. Yeah.
And but uh, and also, like I said, that's another style. Like I said, you play with Count Basie, and you play with Duke Ellington, play with Buddy Rich, you play with Maynard Ferguson, all different, bites of the apple. But it's just, like I said, I'm so fortunate that I got a chance to play that music with those legendary musicians, like the last generation before they passed on.
Yeah. Wow. What an interview, man. And again, I've been, like I say, with all these great musicians, I'm around them all the time. We never really talk because you hello, how are you? And then you're on, and then you come off, and
After the gig, the thing is, a lot of, like, you probably realize this, and all the musicians that are listening to realize this, but the gig is the easy part. It's everything else that makes getting to the gig, the logistics, the preparation. By the time the gig is over, unless you want to burn the candle at both ends, and then that cuts a few years off your life, and we've lost too many people because of that.
yeah.
When they should have, that didn't even make it to their 70s. Uh, People, want to go home. It's like, if you're working 9 to 5, you don't want to hang around the office till 8 o'clock,
Yeah.
But the good thing, like I said, at least most of the time, we're doing something we love. There's always situations, where conditions are not like optimum, but can't complain,
Yeah.
because one of the greatest education, besides, like, school education, street education, and then seeing the world education.
Right.
That's, I mean, for those of you that haven't traveled as musicians and just civilians, separate from the politics and all the garbage that's going on, try to visit as many different cultures as possible, and you see that the people just trying to make a good life for themselves and you know, and their families. And I mean, obviously we get treated nice because we're invited to places and people come see us. So if we're in a place where there might have been a hostile government, but the fans that come out to see us are like, you know, we're already there to a built-in receptive audience.
Yeah.
But you know, you see a lot of things. And the thing about Tito was he was so famous that now, you know, as great of a band as Spanish Harlem is, we'll go to a place for a day or 2 or 3 days, you know. But with Tito, we would be sometime in a place for a week or two, because it would be lines around the corner like that. So you have time to then have an afternoon or two to walk around Tokyo, walk around, you know, the barrios of Brazil or Colombia or Peru or Venezuela.
Yeah.
You know? Depending on where you are, or countries in Europe, or you know, whatchamacallit, I forget, there's some other country.
I mean, there's so many countries, you know, but you know, in terms of Tito, let me ask you, do you have a specific night over your lifetime where you never forget that what you heard Tito do on the drums?
Well, there's too many.
But is there one that you like? Listen,
well, the only thing
you had to be there.
in hindsight, if this is in hindsight,
yeah,
because I'm used to hearing that all the time. So, and in fact, I talked to Jose Madera about this a lot, that maybe we took, maybe not so much. I mean, I always was in awe because I started like really young, you know, but I think that a bunch of like a lot of people took a lot of that for granted because that was just the regular job, and we were hearing that every night.
Mm-hmm.
But the last gig that we did with Tito's band, contrary to what some of the stuff that's on the internet where it says last gig, the last gig we did with Tito's band was in Puerto Rico with the Symphony of Puerto Rico at Bellas Artes, amazing musical concert center and hall, on par with Carnegie Hall.
Yeah.
And a great orchestra. And we had no idea what was going to happen. So this is all in hindsight, what I'm saying now.
Right.
I had no idea that, you know, if Tito was feeling under the weather or was a little sick or anything like that. And we were playing some of Tito's music and arrangements with the Symphony of Puerto Rico. And, you know, we were playing with a lot of symphony orchestras, and well, they're all amazing musicians. There were some symphonies that maybe didn't feel the clave the same way that the Symphony of Puerto Rico did. And I remember the percussion section and the rhythm section, you know, Tito was really having a ball jamming with them along with us. And even, you know, some of the veteran musicians like Johnny, Sonny Bravo, Jose, was like, they mentioned that they felt Tito was playing like it was 1950, 58, you know, it's many days.
Right.
And then, you know, that was the last gig that he ever did.
Yeah.
And so, but, you know, there's so many,
yeah,
you know, there's so many things, but that's, you know, you asked me one thing, so I'm trying to like be a good interviewer. There's more than, you know, there's more than one thing.
Absolutely. Well, listen, guys, we're going to remind you one more time before we sign off for the night. September 20th, if you want to hear the music of, you know, the originals from the Tito Puente Orchestra, that's going to be at the
Lehman Center for the Performing Arts.
Thank you. Saturday, September 20th. Tickets at lehmancenter.org. Plenty seats still available. Also, check out the Mambo Legends documentary, which was outstanding.
There's two of them out.
Whew.
One is done by a professor who's now at NYU, formerly SUNY Potsdam, Dr. Marsha Baxter, called For the Love of the Mambo. Mm-hmm. That's not as readily available. There are just some clips on YouTube of that, but the one I think you're talking about is the PBS special. For those of you that have PBS and the Voces, not the Voces channel, but the Voces part of PBS.
Yep.
If you want to continue saying what you were saying, but that's the one I think you're talking about.
Yeah, just amazing. I loved it.
It's called Mambo Legends. The Music Never Ends, I think.
Yes, sir. Yep.
And it's a 60, like a full documentary. In fact, the director of the movie, her name is Mary Keiko Gonzalez, just emailed some of us that were part of it that documentary is up for a New York Emmy. At the award ceremony will be on October 11th.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean,
really so. I mean,
yeah, it's really a and you hear a lot of in like inside information, along with like they followed us around for many years, and it was kind of on the sitting on the shelf until they got some more funding from PBS, and they were able to complete the documentary. And it's kind of not ironic, but kind of sad that if they were in that situation today, they wouldn't be able to finish the documentary because of the stuff going on with cutting the funds, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, listen,
PBS, you can also see it on YouTube. I'm sure it's on YouTube too, but if you have PBS, the Mambo Legends, The Music Never Ends, it's a great documentary about a lot of the things that I've been talking about with Adrian.
Yes. Who followed Mambo Legends for about 6 years. I attended all you guys' events here in New York City. I didn't miss anything, and I got to interact with you guys. And again, not really asking a lot of specific questions, but just being as close as I could to listening to that music, especially being in front of.
You saved the questions for tonight.
Woof. Let me tell you, man. I mean, I just, it was a gift when I go back and I look at what I have footage. I sent Jose some stuff, and I'll send you as well. Because you want these memories. There's a lot of memories that I have from and I'll be at the rehearsal. Oh, don't tell nobody, but I'll be at the rehearsal for the Lehman College event coming up. But again, man, I mean, I want to thank you so much for sharing some incredible memories. Like I tell everybody that's listening to the podcast, when I have these great musicians on, it's always on top in terms of, the topics, because I'm sure you guys have even more stories. And I'm sure if I run it,
everybody that, I mean, you had you had Sammy Garcia, who was a wonderful percussionist from PR. And I mean, from Sammy to myself, to Jose Madera, I mean, to everybody that's ever played on a team or a sports or a band or anything, or that's worked in an office, there's always stories that you can't repeat because you don't want to hurt anybody's personal life.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, it's been a privilege to not have to be in the position, because I'm still 1,000% active. So I don't want anybody to think I'm really close to being prepared, to be in the position to have experienced that, and now to continue to experience it. For example, next month I'll be going to Australia to be a guest at the Sydney Salsa Congress, and then after that to be a guest at the Bangkok Salsa Congress, and then to be doing a bunch of things in Singapore and like around Asia, to continue what we've been doing. And like I said, what Tito used to say, you might not understand the language, but you love our Latin rhythms, and it's infectious. And I know you started the interview off by asking me about Russia, but the response worldwide to this music is infectious.
Yeah, it continues to be amazing. Wow. How can people follow you? Any social media you want to share?
How they can follow me? I'll be walking down the block tomorrow. No, okay. I'm not a super social media person. I probably should be, according to my kids and everybody else in the world. MitchFrohman.com is my website. I post most of what I do on there. I'm starting to get a little more on the Facebook, so it's they could find me Mitch Frohman Music, or Mitch. I forget, what did I tell you? The other Mitch Frohman, Mitch.Frohman. You just Google it.
Google me.
Yeah, Google me. And hopefully, like I said, besides the Mambo Legends, my band that came out of the MONGO SANTAMARIA brand, the Bronx Horns. I traveled around the world with the Spanish Harlem Orchestra, and then I released my Latin Jazz Quartet record with Grammy Award winners Zakai Curtis, Lucas Curtis, Joel Mateo, and Johnny Rodriguez was a special guest when we did it. There's a bunch of videos on YouTube. You know, so between those groups and hopefully people will run into me and say hello.
Yeah, and you just mentioned a couple of heavy hitters there. For those of you who don't know, surprisingly, but Zakai Curtis now is sitting on the piano for the Eddie Palmieri tribute
Right.
orchestra.
Well, his brother Lucas Curtis has been the bass player for Eddie since he was like
a kid, right? Like,
teen. Now they're in their early 40s, and they're amazing musicians, amazing people, and in fact they started the record label Truth Revolution Records, and they were my record is on their label From Daddy with Love, Mitch Frohman Latin Jazz Quartet, and along with Joel Mateo, who's an amazing drummer from Puerto Rico. You know, they compliment me, and you know, we work together. But in fact, Zakai right now is in Colombia at the Bogota Jazz Festival with his own quartet. He just won the Grammy for this year for the top Latin Jazz Grammy for his record CUBA.
Amazing.
And you know, the music's in good hands, but I ain't going nowhere.
Yeah. Well, thank God for that, and again, thank you again so much for sharing so much, and you know, keeping the music alive and keeping it to a level of, you know, that you've been accustomed to for so many years, and maintaining that level of professionalism and teaching these guys, because again, they may be right next to you. You may have a young guy next to you playing, and you already know where he's going. You know, you understand exactly what he's been through, what he's going to go through, and you're an example for.
But remember, we're still learning. I mean, you never stop learning. I practice as much as I can and trying to get better. You know, I hope I'm better by the time September 20th comes around. I hope I sound better then than I'll sound, you know, than I sounded today practicing. You know,
amazing.
So you never, you know, you're always learning. It's just at different levels and different degrees. You know, of that experience. You know, teaches you.
Well said. That is Mitch Frohman. Again, thank you so much, Mitch, for your time tonight. And again, don't forget, guys, Saturday, September the 20th at Lehman Center, the MAMBO Legends Orchestra.
8 p.m.
8 p.m. Yep, tickets available. Plenty of nice seats available. Go listen to some. How many piece orchestra we talking about here, Mitch, on Saturday the 20th?
20.
20-piece orchestra.
Yeah.
My own. Look at that. Wow. That's going to be incredible.
Maybe 21.
Maybe 21.
Yeah. But it's a full concert orchestra.
Amazing. So guys, get your tickets. Don't forget, come see Mitch live. You won't regret a night out at Lehman Center. Beautiful venue. Very, you know, family oriented. You have a great time. The sound system is in there. It is incredible. You have a great night of music ahead. So I highly recommend it. I'll be there, so I won't miss it for the world. That's Mitch Frohman. My name is Aaron Montañez. Thank you so much again for tonight, whoever joined us tonight. And a special heartfelt thank you to Mr. Mitch Frohman for joining us on the Mambo in the City. Oh, talk to me, Mitch. Tell me.
No, thanks for the opportunity to promote this wonderful culture.
Absolutely. Again, guys, special thanks to Mitch. And we'll catch you next time. You hear me? It's getting late, Mitch. That's what it is. I'm not used to the late podcast, you know. But
this was the time when we'd be starting our second gig after the Corso. Then we'd be doing our second gig at the Casa Bonican, and then we'd be going to do the third gig at the After Hours on 108th and First Avenue in the Barrio. Back in the 70s.
Actually, one more important note before we go. We talked about him a little bit, but you know, I just want your overall thoughts over the years of Mr. Jose Madera in terms of an arranger, in terms of, you know, as a player. You know, what can you let folks know about Jose Madera?
I usually introduce him as like the Quincy Jones of this music. he's, in my opinion, and there's so many other great arrangers and great musicians, for the Palladium style of big band writing, he's at the top of the mountain. And there's many others that could do it great also.
Yeah.
But, you know, he's the direct link to that. And it's very rare to have somebody that could write as if Tito Puente wrote it, or if the staff arranger for Machito wrote it, like Joe's father, or the staff arranger for Tito Rodriguez's band, and it each sounds like that, as opposed to, I mean, he's really a musical genius for that, and he's I mean, that's okay. That's his brother Jerry, who's one of the great, who's also the bass player now in the Spanish Harlem Orchestra for many years, right. And Joe's younger brother, who's probably the swingingest for the big band style of music, like the most, you know, the rock solid bass player there is. He'll be flying up from Florida to do the gig with us.
Okay.
You know, and yeah, I mean, Joe's the real deal. You know, with Johnny having passed away, I used to introduce Johnny and Joe as, to me, not talking about just like, I'm talking about actual playing. When I say the two foremost authorities of the playing style of this music that is still alive, and now, unfortunately, with the passing of the legendary Johnny Rodriguez, Joe is, in my opinion, the foremost authority of that style in the world.
Yeah.
You know, there are musicologists and there are historians that I know more facts or other things like that. But I mean, Joe's father took him to the Machito, the Kenya recording sessions that are considered to be some of the first Latin jazz recordings of that style. You know, like for big band.
Yeah.
But
I just feel he doesn't get, you know, the credit.
Well, he's also not a self-promoter.
Yeah.
To his credit, you know, as a more humble person.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll brag about him for a minute or two. You know, he's everything you're going to hear from the Mambo Legends part of the show has been orchestrated by Jose Madera. I mean, he used to write he wrote a lot of the hits that made Gilberto Santa Rosa well known when Gilberto was Willie Rosario. He wrote for the Fania All Stars. He wrote for Motown, and you know, I don't want to say off the record, but a lot of these string arrangements and other things that you hear on some of these Ruben Blades and Hector Lavoe numbers that are classic, you know, they farmed out some of those arrangements to Joe when some of the at that time more well-known arrangers were too busy.
Right.
So you know, he's deserving of a lot more recognition. Mm-hmm. But those of us in the know.
Yeah. Well said. And again, guys, he'll be at the Lehman Center on the 20th, directing the band, directing the orchestra.
Yeah. So, you know, one other thing, but even more important, he used to be a season ticket holder for the Knicks, so I used to get to go once in a while for free. Now we're finding out what the important things are.
Exactly. Yeah. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. Well, again, Mitch, that was amazing words. And guys, I just had Joe on the podcast. I believe it's episode 61. You can hear it. You can download it. This will also be available.
What number is this?
This is number 63.
Okay.
Yeah, 63 is. I mean, I'm getting. I got Johnny on, thankfully, before he passed, which is another great interview.
I hope you got him on before he passed.
I got him.
Otherwise, that would not be good for you right now.
Oh yeah, no. I definitely. We touched on so many things. Again, you know, he took us into that recording that he did. You know, the first recording he did with Tito, as a young man, and that story.
He talks about stuff like that in the documentary.
Yeah. No. I couldn't
Because
believe
his
it.
father was already playing with the bands, and his mother was like a top social dancer that was friendly with Tito and everything. And so with Joe and Johnny, there was a family component that when they were born, there was already a family component with Tito and Machito because of Joe's dad and Johnny's dad and mom.
Wow. It's a very interesting story. It's a beautiful story. If people, again, I wish more people knew these things, but thankfully they have this recording for the history, and they can learn something, like I did so much tonight with Mitch Frohman. So again, my friend, I will see you what's today's
2
date?
weeks, a week and a half,
Week and a half.
about 2 weeks, almost 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'll check you out then, and then now I want to hear more stories. So maybe we can catch up again.
Okay.
And all right,
You got
guys.
it.
Thank you again, guys, so much. And this has been the Mambo in the City Salsa Podcast. Have a great night.